We will now go to the superintendent's report, so I'll turn it right back over to you.
All right, very good. And I have a few slides I'd like to share with you this evening as we really reflect a little bit and do a little retrospective on the week of school we missed earlier this month due to the floods, and just share a few data points with you. The first thing I would share is that based on the information we have at this point, the impact of the floods within our district, we had 181 families who were flooded, 293 students, and at this point in time, of course, many of them have been displaced and moved around, but as of today, we have 20 that are requiring special transportation because they've been relocated somewhere outside their home area, and in an effort not to disrupt their educational programs, we're providing them transportation. And we had 13 employees in our district who were flooded. So those are the figures. Most of the impact, as you know, would have been in the eastern portion of our district. The schools that were most impacted would have been Seven Oaks Elementary due to flooding in the Willow Creek housing apartment complex, the Pine Glen neighborhood, and the school next most impacted would have probably been Nursery Road Elementary with the flooding in the Coal Stream area. Of course, there were isolated incidents throughout our entire district. Impact on the district infrastructure, talking about facilities, we fared well overall. We had some minor roof leaks, some minor seepage in basement spaces. In fact, I think every place that had a basement, which I think we have 2 schools with basements, they had a little bit of water encroachment, which I think the moral there is it's not a really good plan to build schools with basements in our particular area. And some very minor interior damage, but overall our facilities fared well. But we have prepared our reports, which will be submitted to FEMA in case we qualify for any assistance there. Of course, one of the biggest issues for us was the boil water advisory, and we did have a plan in place. We had 2 to 3 bottles of water per student and staff member and a 3-day supply everywhere. Fortunately, we didn't have to tap into that because by the time we came back, most of the boil water advisories had been lifted, and we had our plans for serving our students their breakfast and lunch, even if we'd had the boil water advisory, and we did sanitize our water system. Also, road closures compared to many of our neighbors. We did not have the volume of roads impacted, but we did have several. We had 5 primary roads closed. As of today, we're down to 1, which is Lost Creek Drive. The others have been reopened, and we had 14 secondary roads closed, primarily in Coldstream and Pine Glen. And I believe as of today, we have a couple of roads still closed in Coldstream, but they do not impact our bus transportation at this point. We had an opportunity to check out our crisis response plan. You hope you never need one, but you make plans for them, and we do that over and over again. And I won't read all the bullets, but I would just say from my perspective, our plan worked great. We had excellent coordination with our outside agencies and with internally. Our groups work together as you would hope that they would. They work together very, very well. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to our first responders and our governmental employees in both Lexington and Richland County. They were just extraordinarily heroic, and they represented our government at its best. Sometimes people who work in those roles, I think, don't get the love and appreciation they clearly deserve. But we know from our experience we are well served by people in our community. Impact on the school calendar, that's certainly one of the biggies. We lost 5 instructional days because schools was canceled for an entire week. The law requires that 3 days must be made up. 3 days can be forgiven by the local school board. An additional request for forgiveness would have to go to the state board. And so here is our plan at this point. We made up day 1 on October 12th. We've announced that day 2 will be made up on November 9th. March 25th, April 19th, and June 3rd are the days that are officially listed on our calendar as severe weather makeup days, and so those remain, and we have the capacity to make up all 5 days that we've missed without any further alterations in our calendar. So that's how that stands at this point in time. And I found this quote, which I think describes how things worked here in our system. This comes from a person who is a historian and a person who really writes about crises. The great majority of people are calm, resourceful, altruistic, or even beyond altruistic as they risk themselves for others. We improvise the conditions of survival beautifully. And as you saw from our students this evening, and as we saw from our staff and our community members, our people were just magnificent. It made us all very proud as a part of our community, and certainly I think within our state in terms of how compassionately and competently this difficult issue was handled. Of course, we know for those families who were impacted by the flood, this is not a 3-week event. It's not a 4-week event. It's something that will be ongoing for weeks. And we are very grateful that our District 5 Foundation has established a fund to work with for our social workers to use as they work with our families and assess our families' needs. And we know that some of the most pressing needs are not the ones they have today, but the ones they're going to have a few weeks from now. I've been very touched, certainly by the response of our own people, as we saw tonight from our students here at Chapin and all across our district and our staff. But also, we've been very touched by the generosity of others from around the country. One example of that was 2 10-year-old girls in Wisconsin who organized a trailer truck delivery of water and cleaning supplies, which came to Leapart Elementary, where we were able to store the stuff. That was just one isolated incident of very, very many, and very many sacrificial gifts. I know that there are some stories here in our own district and probably in our own room right this very minute of people who've opened their homes to individuals who needed help and have just gone way beyond the call of duty. But that I would share with you is where we are at this point in time, and would be happy to take any questions you might have, or if I can't answer them, Michael Harris would probably be a very good resource since he is our person who oversees our social workers. Yes.
I'm just curious, what do you do with 2 or 3 days of water if you don't use it? Did y'all have it shipped in?
Mr. Richardson may answer that. The water is good for a long period of time, and I've forgotten what the expiration date is. It's not immediate, but I think one of the things I would say we've learned from this, we probably need to keep some supply of water on hand no matter what. Do you have any other plans beyond that, Mr. Richardson? But we probably need to have some supply on hand regularly because you don't know what other things might occur.
Ms. Salmon.
This really isn't a question, but I have one comment on something Dr. Hefner said. And it was probably true of many other teachers, but I just wanted also to brag behind, there were days that, like you said, these teachers are off. But I did go to Seven Oaks each day, and Harriet Wilson was up there, already, but she had friends from Chapin. But almost all of the Seven Oaks teachers came in. You know, I mean, and really, as a teacher, I can tell you, when you think you got the day off, I mean, you're sorry of flooding, but you're going to got the day off. And they were there every day, organizing that, playing with the kids that had nowhere to go. I mean, and I know you just said, but I just really wanted to call,
I
shout out
appreciate,
to them.
I appreciate your saying that, because I think don't want to leave out those whose schools were so
Yeah,
heavily impacted, because they were
It was their
they were
kids,
there.
Dr. Hefner. I mean, it just would make you cry, but it also makes you feel good. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is Pine Glen, which feeds Seven Oaks, was really hit hard. And they have a lot of, they're older families, but there are a lot of children in there. And what they were telling me, the next step, which I'd like to say here, is instead, we've been doing clothes and cleaning supplies and blankets. They said the next thing is to have, actually, the next phase is to move back in these cleaned out houses, and they really need furniture. And if you've got anything in an attic or, you wouldn't think of furniture, but they could really use it. And they've got, thanks to Judy Gaskins, there's one of these big, not a pod, but it looks more like a big motorhome, but it's nothing in it, and you can lock the things up at night. But they she did ask me to say tonight to please bring some proof of their address, that you live in these neighborhoods that were touched, because believe it or not, there are people that just come and shop that might not be part of the community. And so I told her, I said, I know Dr. Hefner has done this wonderful job to bring us up to speed of all our schools. So I promised to put that out about furniture, and also any of these families, please just, bring their address so they can verify it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Harris, is there something you wish to say?
If I might, if I'm not too far out of line, Dr. Hefner, I wanted to acknowledge the presence of Jennifer Felco and two other social workers, Donna Carroll and Tracy Crow, who are here, who are leading the way and certainly on the front lines of making certain that our students and our families are receiving the accurate assessment and thorough assessments on a daily basis. So I wanted to acknowledge them after a long day of continuing to make certain that they are being supported, that they are here to support what you have to share in reference to the report that you made on tonight.
All right, we will now go to our monthly financial reports. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mr. White, to answer your question, I don't know what we're going to do with all this water, but it's about a 2-year, it's good for about 2 years, and I know that one of the things that we've done is filed paperwork with FEMA to put them on notice that we plan on filing for some reimbursement on some things. Water would be one of those items that we will file for reimbursement for. In your packet, on Exhibit B, is our monthly financial reports for the month of September 2015, which means we are officially 25% through the fiscal year. I know we had trouble hearing at the last board meeting, so I'll give you a brief repeat of what I tried to explain last time. I know everybody had a little bit of trouble hearing me. These reports that you're seeing are almost large enough to see without glasses, but unfortunately I have to wear glasses. But they're the first piece that you have is the revenue piece, and what that shows you is just a breakdown of all the various revenues that we get throughout the district. The first column, called GL budget, is what we have budgeted for each one of those items. The second column says range to date, is what we've actually collected for the month, and a negative in this case is good. And year to date is what we've collected so far since the beginning of the fiscal year, and of course the balance would be what's left to collect for the remainder of the year. On the second page of this report, at the bottom, you'll see that we have an entire budget of $166.4 million. We've collected to date $17.7 million, and we have a balance remaining of $148.7 million to collect. The next few pages that you have are the expenditures. I'll kind of explain this as well. Some of it's self-explanatory, but the first column that you have is the account number. The second column is a description of what those accounts are. Then the GL budget is the budget amount. The range to date is the amount we've expended during the month of September. Year to date is since the beginning of the fiscal year, September 1st, and then a balance remaining for this fiscal year. The encumbrances in the fifth column are include anything that's been encumbered through a PO process and our payroll. So that's a fairly large number. So the last column there is the budget balance, including actual expenditures and encumbrances. I will flip you to the very last page of this document and show you how that all works. At the very bottom on page 6, once again, a budget of $166.4 million. We've expended $13.5 million this month. $24.7 million has been expended year to date, and then a balance of $141.7 million. Of course, we have encumbrances of $122.7 million, so the balances, including encumbrances, would be right at $19 million. I will be glad to try to answer any specific questions that you might have.
Are there any questions from the board members for Mr. Richardson? I think you explained it quite well. Thank you so much, Mr. Richardson.
Anything else, Mr. Richardson? Were you going to go over the five-year capital plan budget as well?
Actually, that was just the capital plan that was approved last spring that should not have been included in the packet.
All right. All right, good.
But you wouldn't catch that.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hefner. Next is our public participation. We did not have anyone sign up for public participation, so we will proceed to our action agenda.